Taking a look at some of our top stories, UST stablecoin falling below its US dollar peg right now at 94 cents. Earlier it was at 92 cents. This is happening for a second time in 48 hours. The development comes after the Luna Foundation Guard announced that its massive Bitcoin reserves will be used to defend UST's dollar peg. Joining us now to discuss BTC price and more is Don Kaufman, co-founder of trading educator TheoTrade. Welcome, Don.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, so taking a look at the markets, from seeing a lot of red, what's your outlook on Bitcoin?
Well, there's some good, some not so good in this particular case. A lot of what I look at happens to be correlations between S&P 500, Nasdaq, some of the original meme stocks, if you will, and of course, many of the crypto assets, specifically Bitcoin in this particular case. And as I said, some good, some not so good. One of the things I'm looking for right now is higher degrees of capitulation. As you know, I've been on here time and again and been rather bearish. And we really, right at this point, are looking to kind of reassess our stance in Bitcoin, specifically right around the 30,000 level.
So what is the strategy? Do you see it going lower, or, in which case maybe not is now a good time to buy, or now is the buying opportunity, it's at the low?
So, I'm going to look at this a little bit more as a trader than an investor. If we're an investor and we're looking like, hey, is this a great time to enter into a Bitcoin position and something I'm going to hold for the longer term? I'm going to say absolutely not. I think that the volatility is through the roof at this point in time. We have some signs of capitulation on the screen right now, but this has not been a complete and utter, blowout of a sale just yet. And it's one of the things that is a little bit disconcerting moving forward is, as I said, I'd really like to see some things on my screen right now that just scream capitulation, traders dropping out. A few of the factors are there, but unfortunately a few are presently not.
All right. I want to turn to UST as well, the Terra Luna ecosystem, their algorithmic stablecoin, TerraUSD. So that has fallen off its peg. Earlier it was at 92 cents. We showed on the screen just now, it's recovered to about 94 cents. It's supposed to be one-to-one to the US dollar. It has an $18 billion market cap. So one of the founders of the Luna Foundation Guard, Do Kwon, was tweeting earlier that they're deploying more capital, steady lat. So it appears that it seems to be working. I mean, they managed to go from 92 cents to 94 cents. Now, the LFG, the Luna Foundation Guard, has about 2.6 billion in BTC reserves to make sure that their stablecoin stays stable according to its peg. So it's the second largest corporate holder between MicroStrategy and Tesla. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts. Could this have an impact on Bitcoin?
Absolutely, unequivocally. I think it's much more of a sign, though, of some of the extreme stress inside of the crypto markets as a whole. To give you a feel, again, stablecoins are literally being ripped apart. There's actually arbitrage opportunities that are available, and yet we're still seeing, in effect, the stablecoin, destabilized at this point in time. It's not something as a trader nor an investor that's going to make me feel ultimately warm and fuzzy, but this has a lot to do with a massive unwind. And again, a lot of the crypto assets, but we're actually seeing, again, as I said, areas and degrees of capitulation. However, stablecoins starting to actually come off their mark. There's nothing more disconcerting inside of the crypto marketplace at this point in time. However, on the flip side of that, maybe it's a sign of capitulation. Again, we haven't really seen this kind of activity in years inside of this marketplace. Anytime you see, an inordinate volatility, again, some huge fissures will open up in the marketplace, provide a couple of opportunities. And I think, again, a more avid trader would look at this as opportunistic and possibly take advantage of it. As an investor, though, this is where you take a couple of steps back. It's actually a little reminiscent, if you will, of some of the money market issues that happened all the way back in the financial crisis.
Interesting. Well, the Luna Foundation Guard has said that they'll be lending out $1.5 billion, half in Bitcoin, half in TerraUSD. They're supposed to burn Luna to maintain their peg. So what do you make of this shift, would you say, to a Bitcoin-backed model? Do you think it'll work?
Well, I think ultimately it will work. However, the very fact that they're having to actually step in and, if you will, manipulate the product again is not exactly enlightening to me as a trader. Nevertheless, as I said, I think that it could be a little bit opportunistic for those that are willing to actually go in and take that risk. There's arbitrage opportunities in here. What again, though, on the flip side is alarming is that a lot of traders are not necessarily coming in and going for that arbitrage opportunity, which tells you that there could absolutely be more downside risk, if you will, in the very near term of some of those stable coins.
I wanted to play a clip from this morning. We interviewed Swan Bitcoin CEO Corey Clipson. Let's have a listen.
I think this is more just, check yourself before you get on board with supposedly bullish narratives. I think it's really important to have a critical eye and not cheerlead things just because somebody says they like Bitcoin and the narrative seems mildly bullish. I think this is probably the worst false narrative that we've seen in the Bitcoin space since the fake S2F models, which are obviously really embarrassing for Bitcoiners to try to be pushing to anybody that understood stats and math and finance. We kind of got laughed out of the room with the S2F models. And I think something like this is, equally just getting egg on the face of Bitcoiners that have been cheering on a total Ponzi scheme and a scammer.
So Don, ultimately Corey doesn't think that Bitcoin will be impacted in the long run. But if we do see this shift, this lending from the LFG to over-the-counter desks, and they end up selling Bitcoin, I mean, could it end up impacting Bitcoin in the long run?
Yeah, unequivocally, there's going to be an impact to Bitcoin. Now, again, this is volatility. More of the impact to Bitcoin, though, at this point in time, is overall volatility inside of U.S. equity and index markets. I would be much more, concerned with, for instance, where the S&Ps are, other than what we're looking at right now inside of this carry trade around stablecoins. Again, what's more disconcerting is overall volatility of the marketplace, which is really causing, if you will, a degree of panic inside of the retail side of the business, not so much the institutional side of the business. Very few people are familiar, if you will, with how they actually stabilize some of the coins here. But in this particular case, there's no question that there's going to be carryover. I mean, listen, everything at this point in time is an algorithm. Everything at this point in time is completely tied together. It's often what we call the curse of dimensionality. And that is, I don't care whether you're looking at Bitcoin, whether you're looking at gold, whether you're looking at the US dollar, whether you're looking at the Nasdaq, futures. We are trading in a marketplace right now that has unprecedented volatility. And if you haven't necessarily been in this type of volatility before, you're going to gain the utmost respect for it in the very near term. This is a marketplace, as I said. There's some good, some bad. We haven't seen outright capitulation. We're going to be making some very critical decisions, though, in the near term. If and around Bitcoin hitting the 30,000 mark, we'll see if volatility absolutely explodes in that marketplace, which would be a sign of capitulation. As I also stated a little bit earlier, one of the things that I've actually tracked extensively on the retail side is those effectively that trade, products like Bitcoin, also trading some of the meme stocks. One of the things that's very disconcerting is when you start looking at price action and, some of the stocks like GME, which is, of course, GameStop from 2 years ago. And that stock is coming off, but we're still talking about effectively a $100 product. I mean, there is a long way to the downside in here. And I think until we see some of the great unwind of those, that whole meme error, I think we have to be concerned also about Bitcoin and any of the crypto assets.